Anyway, apparently we've got to go watch a video called an unpopular Discord video. I don't know what's supposed to be unpopular about it, but I guess we'll see. It's from Louis Rossman, who's the guy behind the Clippy movement. If you remember when everybody was making their profiles Clippy, there's still a lot of people who still have their profiles as Clippy. But before we get into that, I do want to say thank you all for watching my channel as long as you have. We've been here since 2017, and I am just astounded that we're still here. Just there's a community still here at all. It flabbergasts the ever-loving shit out of me. That said, let's go ahead and get into this right here after I've given my thank you to everybody.
To talk about the new Discord thing with age verification, and if you don't upload your ID, them doing all this weird facial scanning shit to put you in a certain category or not. And I haven't done it because I just haven't really been as interested in it. And I know I'm probably not going to say the things that people want me to say or go over the things that people want me to go over as much. You probably want me to go over the fact that there is a company that was storing those pictures of the scanned IDs that got hacked, and over 70,000 of them got released just a few months ago. There are many ways to go over this that are probably more relevant than the way I want to go over it. I want to go over it just looking into just what the internet was like 25 years ago and what it's like now. I remember being a teenager and joining IRC channels all over the place and joining these little internet communities back when the internet was a group of forums and not just and communities rather than just subreddits. And what I liked about that part of the internet is fundamentally a lot of it was the anonymity of it. What I loved about it is I could be in a room with people who were multimillionaires. I could be in a room with people who were in 7th grade like me. I could be in a room with people who were broke from all different walks of life. Some people were anonymous, some people were not. Most people back then, pre-2004 internet, it was very uncommon for anybody to ever give their name on the internet. That was just a time you had to be there for the late 90s, early 2000s where it's just, wait, you're putting your real name on the internet? Are you crazy?
So, like, back then, stranger danger was the biggest conversation in regards to the internet. So anytime you might give your information out, the idea was that somebody was going to rape you, because the internet was so new that the people who existed with it were the people who were like 10 and 11 and were just getting onto their parents' computers, and their parents that had computers for like balancing a checkbook. And to them, the internet was a tool that could be used for things like checking out blogs every now and again. You barely used it for looking up information, but you could use it to go like to MapQuest and get stuff if you needed. It really was a small form tool that was accessed occasionally more than anything. Sucker says, to be fair, it is a bad idea to share real life names on the internet. Yeah, it is a terrible idea to tell people that my name is Christopher Stoffer on the internet. I understand that. But at the same time, I also recognize that my position as a content creator is a little bit different than my position would be if I was just, say, a gamer on the internet. If I was a gamer on the internet, I might be a lot more careful with my name being out there. As a content creator, myself and my name getting out there for everybody to see was a matter of time before that would happen anyway, and I just said, fuck it, and let my name be out there from the get-go so that I didn't have to deal with that anxiety. I don't have to care about that information making it out there if I put it out there myself. Tal says, printing out MapQuest directions on paper and using that for trips. Yep. So, yeah, the internet was different. Stranger danger was the name of the game back then.
Easy. Well, like somebody may not like what you say and track you down. You're not going to put your credit card into the computer, are you? That's how the hackers are going to get you. It was a very different time than today.
But to be fair, though, as well, there were fewer safety protocols back then on financial uses of the internet. There were fewer safety protocols that were noticed there. There were fewer people who were working on internet safety protocols who were experts in internet safety in the first place. So, like the statement that, you know, why are you doing that? You're gonna get yourself, you're gonna lose stuff. The likelihood of you putting your stuff into a scam website and you putting your stuff onto something legitimate like early Amazon for books or early eBay was about a 50-50. Like before the .com bubble bursted, the reality was it simply was not safe on most websites unless you were going for something that was really, really trusted and verified by multiple people. Again, this is where your Amazon, your eBay, your RuneScape, this is where a lot of those websites were able to actually get money, is because there was a trusted network of people who could tell you, yeah, totally, nothing bad has happened to me for the last year and I've been using this shit.
And then 2004 came along, and MySpace and Facebook and Web 2.0 came along, and that was when people started attaching their name to stuff on the internet. It was very weird. And I would just look around, and I thought that it was so strange. I mean, there were maybe 1 or 3 people that I knew on the internet back then where I knew their real name or maybe the city they lived in, but that was coveted personal information. And even if that you had that, it was just implied. Yeah, you don't let anybody else know that you know what that person's name or city is, because they were entrusting you with something. And what I would really was amazing about that internet is that I was given the freedom to be myself in an environment where I probably would not have been myself if everybody knew my name up front, or if I was verified up front, or even if you didn't know who I was because of a username. You didn't know, I didn't have to worry about the website knowing who I was because of my ID. So let's say I was using a pseudonym. Let's say I was using, I don't know, like Acer, as just not very creative. Let's say I was Acer as my username. The owner of the website didn't know that my real name was Louis Rossman because I hadn't uploaded their ID there. And I probably would have been a lot different in interacting. I probably would have had a lot less interactions if I had that in the back of my head. And that was, and I miss that internet. I miss that time.
I do too. Like, man, I miss the internet where, and we still kind of have it. We still kind of have it. There are pockets of the internet where this exists. But I miss the internet where you could learn who you were by trying on a personality, and when that personality didn't fit, you deleted the account and you made another one. I miss that internet. Now, granted, I never participated in that internet in that way, because when I made my first internet thing ever, that was a RuneScape account where I made my name Suris. Suris 4. And I made my email suris4rune@yahoo.com. That is why my business email, for people who want to contact me via email, has been that. Because that was my RuneScape email. Because I made an email specifically so I could make a RuneScape account. But I never stopped being that person. Like that identity, because I always just was me in some variation, form, or fashion. Nami says, I swear I just did this the other day, but yay, thank you for the subscription, Nami. I appreciate it. Vinny says, people talk about dead internet theory. I don't think it's dead so much as dark forest theory instead. So the dead internet theory is true, because dead internet theory is the fact that there are a shit ton of bot accounts on the internet that there's a non-zero chance you're interacting with a bot when you go on the internet. So if I play Pokemon Unite, I'm probably fighting with bots. If I play Paladins, I'm probably fighting with bots. If I play Fortnite, I'm probably fighting with bots. Despite the fact that I feel like I'm playing an online game, I'm probably on with bots. If I'm arguing with somebody on Facebook, probably arguing with a bot. If I'm arguing with somebody on Twitter, I'm probably arguing with a bot. That's dead internet theory. It's the idea that you have an internet that you can look at that looks like there's people there and they aren't there. And large language models have made that infinitely worse for all of us. Jesus. Taos is still willing to play Unite with you on occasion. I haven't played Unite in months, though. That's the thing. Like, I go in waves on Pokemon Unite, and I've been angry with Unite lately because I hate the thing Pokemon Unite does, where you lose one match, and then it puts you in a bot game for 2 or 3 matches. I feel like the punishment for losing a match should just be the amount of rank that I lose, not having to fight against robots so that I can feel something again for a few matches. I fucking hate fighting bots in online games. If I'm pub stomping somebody, I want to make sure that the person I'm pub stomping is actually a human being on the other side, so that they're not crying fake tears when I kick their ass with a fucking Leafeon. If I jump on them and I delete their health bar in 10 seconds, or less than 10 seconds, I need to know that there is a human being on the other side of that, vigorously breaking a controller because of me. If they aren't doing that, I ain't happy.
I miss being in that community because I did not have the best of time growing up. I'm not going to go over every single piece of the history here, but yeah, like I showed up at home. It wasn't like I had like parents say, oh, here's what you should do at school. Here's what you should do with this problem, son. I was mostly on my own. And it was very useful for me to be in an environment where I was actually around other people that were adults and I could talk about issues, or I could see how they talked to each other.
I learned how to talk to people by playing online video games. And most of the time, I was talking to adults when I was 12 or 13. So I distinctly remember having the experience where a friend of mine on World of Warcraft who had added me on AOL Instant Messenger so that we could talk when we weren't playing World of Warcraft and we could kind of coordinate dungeon runs and stuff together. I remember her coming to me for relationship advice because of like a bad situation that had happened with her ex, and I was fucking 13 years old doing my best, and it was not great. Like, I remember that shit, and I'm gonna be honest, that internet is weird to think about in comparison to today. We are hyper vigilant about that kind of shit today. Like, if I had just given the details of there was a person on World of Warcraft talking about their bad experiences having sex with another adult, and they had that conversation with a 13-year-old. Did you know that? Everybody would immediately like fucking run into a river and scream that was scandalous and we need to throw that person to the fucking wolves. No, it was an MMORPG, and you had no idea what the age of the other person was. Like, that's just not a thing you fucking had access to at the time. People are very, very soft on today's internet, I swear to God. Weird shit happened all the time on the older internet.
I could be a part of a community where people were actually working on things together. I learned the idea of personal accountability and responsibility. I learned how to ask questions. I learned how to do things. If I have a question or a problem and I want somebody to help solve it, how can I ask it in a way that does not seem entitled so people are actually interested in my issue or interested in helping me? That was something that I really needed to learn because when I was younger, I was fucking clueless at it, and I didn't really have people showing me how to do that in real life. And learning those lessons earlier on made it a lot easier for me to do all the things I'm doing now as a grown-up later in life. And I got to learn these, and a lot of these lessons that I learned were in 2 IRC chat rooms that I'm not going to mention that had a massive influence on me in my life. And if I had to upload my ID or do a fucking facial scam, I would have clicked X immediately. And the reason that is so annoying and aggravating to me is because the modern me, the business that I created, the person I became, the things that I did instead of just going to like staying at Model Sporting Goods and fucking putting price tags on basketballs happened because I had the influences of those people, some of whom I still know today. It's like talking about my frustration with like the repair wiki not working well, like my frustration with what goes on with New York City and New York State when I was trying to run my business, my frustration with what went on with the repair community in general over the past 15 to 20 years and how that's just like all the ladders that I took to become who I am just kind of got pulled up. I feel like that's one of those ladders, and it was the ladders that helped me develop into the person that I am today. There's no way in fucking hell that I would have joined any of those services if this was required. Now I can already hear people screaming from miles away, you don't care about the children, what about the... Bitch, you don't give a fuck about the children.
Yeah, I have to agree. I actually have to agree. So like, let me give you another example of an incident that happened with me when I was a lot younger. I was 15 at the time, and I played Magic the Gathering tournaments, standard and draft, a lot. We had standard tournaments on Fridays, F&M, and we had draft tournaments on Saturdays. This was at a store called Home Field. If you grew up in Pensacola, you knew about Home Field. Let me see if I can find you a picture of what this place was. This was like a gamer's mecca. It doesn't exist anymore, as far as I know. Yeah, I can't even find pictures of it anymore. I can't even find pictures of it now because it's dead. It's dead. The store is dead. So I guess I'll just have to get by with a description of what this was because, again, it's dead. So Home Field was a trading card shop that it started out basically in a closet and then grew to the size where it had 2 main rooms. One main room sold video games and another main room had card game tables. Now, lining the walls of these card game tables were TVs. Tons and tons of TVs. And connected to each one of these TVs was a game console. Now, the TVs on the perimeter had GameCube, N64, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. That's what you had there. They had an hourly rate that you could pay to rent any game from the cabinets that they were selling from. You could rent any game and play it over in the game section. But there's a second area. And the second area had rows and rows and rows like this instead of along a wall of games with, or of game systems with TVs facing opposite of one another. These had Xboxes. And these Xboxes were all LANed together. And at home field, everybody played Halo 2. Everybody. Xbox Live was the experience for a lot of people, I know. But for people who grew up at home field, for people who grew up going to that store, a lot of them might do Xbox Live at home, but what they did a lot was they went to home field, hopped on the Xbox there, and did 8 versus 8 or 16-player multiplayer LAN against each other in a card shop, yelling at each other from across the card shop. Fucking glorious. Now, during the Magic the Gathering tournaments that were held on Saturday, I got to be really good friends with a lot of the Magic Gathering crowd there. And they'd had a tradition, and that tradition was that after the tournament, they would all go to Denny's and they would play EDH, what later would be called Commander. I did not know what EDH was, but I knew that I wanted to be part of the group of people, so I called my mom and I said, hey, instead of picking me up at 10, could you pick me up when we're done at Denny's? And she said, okay, that's fine. And we would be done at Denny's at like 2 in the morning. I was 15 years old. Everybody around me had gone to fucking college or was in the military. My experience growing up, literally, was being a 15-year-old kid hearing about the lived experiences from a bunch of adults around me. I remember the moment that they realized that I was a kid. I remember the exact moment. Everybody was having stories about college, and then one looked at me and said, hey, Chris, where did you go to college? And I just went, I'm in high school still. And then everybody realized I was 15. And there was a moment of like uncomfortability. And then it was gone. And then it was just like, oh, okay, cool. That's just a fact about you now. Anyway, we're going to continue. And I feel like in the modern day, there'd be a group of people that would freak out about that and go like, oh, every one of those is a potential pedophile. I feel like that would be the case now, when the reality is it was a bunch of people playing fucking cards together. Like that was the experience there. That tradition is something that I still take part in now, years later. Not in Pensacola, because I don't live there anymore. I'm not going to tell you the city I live in, but when we're done at the card shop, everybody goes to a Taco Mac, and we shove like 20 people on a bunch of rows of tables together, and we just play cards until like 2 in the morning. The same thing I did when I was a kid. I never moved away from that. At all. Yeah, there's a non-zero amount of creeps that could have possibly become a problem during that. But nobody in that group was. Not as far as I know. And, funnily enough, I was at a modern tournament in Alabama, and one of the members of that group, who was in the Air Force, when we met, noticed me, and I noticed him while I was at the modern tournament, and I was like, oh my god, hi! I remember you. Do you remember me from quite literally 20 fucking years ago when I was a child? I remembered getting into an argument with this person because I got engaged. I had a girlfriend when I was 15 who was 17. And I remember like 2 months in being a dipshit, cringy kid asking her to marry me because I did not think about the weight of that at all. And I remember like being so excited about that and telling that friend and that friend going, oh my God, you are the dumbest kid I have ever talked to. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I was sitting there thinking, why can't you just be happy for me? Why are you so mad at me? And then as an adult now, I'm just like, no, that guy was actually looking out for me. He was actually trying to protect me because what I did was really fucking stupid. It was a dumb, stupid-ass kid thing. But anyway, like, I would not have had the influence of people who were more experienced about the world around me, helping me through shit, I would not have had that experience if I was not the kid in the group of adults. And that was the experience I got to have on World of Warcraft, on RuneScape, and in the card shop. Just in general.
Especially if you're in the government. If there's anything that anybody has learned, and I have not gone down this rabbit hole, I have probably missed out on tens of thousands of dollars in YouTube revenue by not milking the fuck out of the Epstein files. I'm not in the place for it right now. I'm not in the mood for it right now. I got a lot of stuff to do with my business, and I'm just not in a video making mood recently. But like, if there's anything that you can learn from just looking at how the United States government has dealt with this entire thing every step of the way, whether we're talking about Alex Acosta many years ago or the complete clusterfuck of the last 9 months, you don't give a fuck about protecting the children. No fucks given. None whatsoever. The best way to protect your children online is to be a fucking parent. But there's an irony there. And like the only reason that I was even able to use these IRC channels and talk as much as I did with all these different groups of people that helped mold me into a person that was a responsible person in society is because my parents weren't actually watching, because they didn't fucking care. You don't need to have people upload their fucking identification. And that's what pisses me off when I hear that argument so much. All those websites I was on, all the things I did on the internet.
I agree 100%. You should not have to upload your ID to be in a Discord. I'm sorry, but there is nothing wrong. If everybody involved is responsible and there is good moderation, making sure that weird fuck shit isn't happening, there is nothing wrong with having a mixed age space on the internet. There's not. The internet is a thing that everybody is going to have to grow up with. It can't be a thing that is sectioned off solely for adults. That was not the internet I grew up with, because I grew up with the internet. My formative experiences on the internet got to exist because I was allowed to be a kid on the internet.
Whether the good things I did on the internet or the bad things I did on the internet, because, you know, there are some things I did on the internet when I was a teenager that I probably shouldn't have. Probably while having this thing plugged in. Yeah. But besides that, all the stuff I did on the internet, all the people that I talked to, all the conversations I was a part of that maybe my parents would have been pissed off at if they saw, these weren't conversations that took place because they didn't ask me to upload a copy of my ID or do a facial scan. These occurred because my mother was too busy, like, you know, downing Xanax and Luvox and actually trying to figure out how to be a mom, right? Let's be real. If you want to protect your children, parent your fucking children.
Agreed.
Don't ask the government and social media companies to do it for you. Now, does that mean that I think it's okay when I watch those Facebook whistleblower hearings, Josh Hawley and that woman that was a whistleblower, where they're talking about how like somebody deleted?
All right, so let's be clear here. The internet and social media are not synonymous. The world I existed in when I was a kid, social media didn't exist. We had forums. We didn't have social media in the way that we understand social media today. Did not exist. Algorithms trying to like pump out content into your brain was not a thing when I grew up. That internet was a different internet. I wish we could go back to that internet, and I want us to go back to that internet. And my God, we should go back to a website. I wonder if I made a website. And this is not a sponsored segment for like Squarespace or some shit, but like if I made a website with like an actual forum in it, is that something that somebody would want to go on? I don't know. Also, come here. Hey, Yumi. Hey, how's it going? How are ya? How are ya? Baby time. Hello. Hello, orange baby. Hi. How are you? This is Yumi. She is my orange kitty. Sapo says that snoot needs a boot. No, see, I don't want to do any sudden hand movements. I think that the people who owned her before I rescued her, I think that they were very, very abusive. I think so. Let's continue.
It's a photo of themselves, and then the algorithm detects that that person has low self-confidence, so they start marketing that young teenage girl beauty products. No, that's predatory. That's fucked up. That's bullshit.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Fuck anybody who had any involvement in like anything even remotely related to shit like that. That's disgusting. That's predatory. That's sick. That's different from the idea.
I agree. All of that shit's horrible. And you want to know the culprit of all of that? Capitalism. I hate to tell you this. It always comes down to a system that incentivizes profit over people. That's what capitalism is. The enemy is capitalism. I don't know what to tell you. Every time.
That this is the way you protect children. It's not. Like, parent your kids. Take a look at what they're doing on their phone or the internet. Have real fucking conversations with them. Try building trust with your kids so they actually want to fucking share with you what they're talking about and who they're talking to. The thing that pissed me off the most about being a child was the degree to which adults treat you like a disabled adult rather than a human being that just doesn't know as much as them yet. And when I talk to kids as an adult, one of the things that I noticed allows me to immediately get past like so much of the crap that their teachers or their parents or everybody else in their life will have to deal with when communicating with them, as I just try to talk to them like they're a normal fucking human being. I'm so sick and tired of this. Like, just everything that's becoming fucked up about the internet to try and protect children from people that don't give two shits of a fuck about raising children, much less even protecting them.
Yeah, every single person that is desperately trying to protect kids with some real ID shit is also trying to sell those kids on 12 billion things that are not good for them with algorithms. No, none of them are here to protect kids. Not a single one of them. I agree with this. This is a video that is titled an unpopular Discord video, but I'm going to be honest, I feel like this is just the correct opinion. Like, I don't see a problem like with that opinion in any way, shape, or form. The internet used to be a better place for kids to be. It is now a much more predatory place for kids to be, and all of the attempts to regulate the internet into like the ass sphere to try to protect those kids doesn't really protect them. It just lets places like Facebook say, we did our due diligence. By the way, also, we have to have a court hearing about the way that we've gotten people addicted to our social media from a really young age. Jesus, fuck. Soccer says, it'd be an unpopular one in Congress or Parliament. Yeah, that's because half of our politicians are all fucking corrupt dipshits that are in the Epstein files. Soccer says, a lot of the time, laws intended to protect children don't. No, they don't. They don't. But yeah, that was Louis Rossman's video. It's supposed to be an unpopular one, but no, it's just not. It's just not. This is the let's do COPPA, let's do the SAVE Act, let's do all of these things to try to restrict the internet in ways that it doesn't help anybody at all. Soccer says, I think the title's clickbait. I mean, it definitely is. It definitely is. But nah, I agree with it. I agree with it. Anyway, that's all I got for that one. Thank you for watching. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.